That would help too, and running. But learning where the risks are,
Yes.
learning the times. When is it safe for me to be in this neighborhood, and when is it not safe for me to be here? Am I making good decisions? Do I need to be where everybody's at? If there's a fight, do I need to be there? If there's something going on that's questionable, do I need to be part of that? So it starts taking some discernment, like we talked about last time. The word discernment of what situation is volatile, what situation can put me in harm's way. And I learned living in an environment like that there's always an escape, there's always an out, and a lot of it is not entering in the first place. If you're walking through school and there's a hallway where there's trouble, if there's certain neighborhoods where there's problems, or certain areas in your neighborhood, certain times of the day you may want to avoid them. You may have to be a little bit more proactive.
Right.
And it's very difficult. You may have to be less reactionary in situations. There you have to learn how to choose your battles, and maybe be a little bit more proactive in finding out how you can solve these problems in your community. Maybe being proactive and doing more reporting, not snitching, reporting, because no one deserves to ruin your neighborhood. No one deserves to ruin your school. I would say this all the time in the schools, and I wouldn't back down. If someone is selling drugs in your school, tell on them. Oh, but you're a snitch. No, you're not in prison. Snitches get stitches is in prison, not in the schools.
Right.
A school. If you're a gangster in a school, there's a problem. If you're a gangster in an after-school program, there's a problem. Keep it on the streets. Back in the day, gangsters were very, very disciplined, Cindy. People that were in gangs were very disciplined. There were codes.
Sure.
You didn't bring the violence to people that weren't violent. You didn't bring the violence to areas where there were families. You didn't destroy people's environments. You stayed away from the parks and let people have their parks. Now it's all over the place. I believe you can fight back, but in a positive way. And we've seen it done many times. Numbers, people in numbers. If you live in a neighborhood where there's a park and there's only a small minority of knuckleheads that take over the park, everyone should come out to that park in numbers, like we did. Do you remember when we did the Story Lane, where we went to the park and we had a anti-cheese rally?
Yes.
Yeah, we took over a park that was that had the kids could not go to during the day or night because it was taken over by knuckleheads. And
it was knuckleheads.
And the knuckleheads weren't young kids; they were adults. There were adults that were doing bad things. And I remember when we took over and the numbers came out, over 300 people that had never been able to come out and really explore the park. And we fed 300 people hamburgers and hot dogs. And I remember we got smirks and looks, but nobody dared to do anything because the numbers were there. And there's power in numbers. And I think that in the schools, there's a lot of you in there who think the same, who want the same things, but you have to find each other and you have to work with each other and do this in numbers. Everyone wants good. Everyone wants. I don't believe someone wakes up wanting to be self-destructive. And
hey, Leo, I have to take this call, and my husband's out of town.
Oh, no problem. I'll keep
and he's
talking.
needing some legal documents.
Okay.
I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
And so, we'll talk later. I'm so sorry for this
No
interruption.
problem. Okay. All right, Sydney. All right, thank you. So we're talking about self-destruction. So nobody wakes up wanting to be in this condition of self-destruction. Nobody wants to, nobody woke up wanting to be the person who nobody likes. But what happens is a lot of times is that we're not given the opportunity. Sometimes we're born into an environment that is already self-destructive. If that's what's happened to you, it's time to rethink. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening, or maybe you're in a situation where you've been called out. Maybe you're in a situation where you have faced the violence. Maybe you're in a situation where you're just tired. You're sick and tired. You know, it's time to start making changes. It's time to start identifying those feelings that you have. It's time to start motivating yourself and start little, start small. Sometimes people are afraid to ask for help. Sometimes people are afraid to look for help through counseling or mentorship. But ask for help, and it doesn't have to be to solve your life problems. It can just be what you're confronted with. Maybe you're having problems at school with an assignment. Maybe you're having problems. Maybe you don't read very well. Maybe you don't have the motivation. Maybe you want to play a sport, but you don't know how to do that. Maybe you have a talent and you want to explore that. Maybe somebody is picking on you. Ask for help. You deserve better. You've got to learn that you're valuable. You got to learn that you're special. You got to learn that there's only one of you, and you've got to make the best of it. And you deserve to be here like everyone else. You deserve to love yourself in the state that you're in, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You've got to learn that you're so valuable. There's a purpose. We all have a purpose, but it's very difficult. And if you have an overreaction, underreaction, if you're not in tune with your feelings, if your feelings scare you, if other people's feelings scare you, it's going to be very difficult. And that'll create self-destruction. And self-destruction happens in many levels. It happens when you hurt yourself. It happens when you don't like how you feel. You're not comfortable in your own skin and you want to destroy it. You look in the mirror and you don't like what you see. So work on that. And it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of time, a little bit of effort every day just to think a little bit differently. Learn we did a podcast on self-talk. Learn how to talk to yourself in a positive way. Learn to like yourself enough where if people are bringing you down, you can bring yourself back up. Because it's very important. There's only one of you. There's only one of you. And if you don't like you, other people won't like you. And if people like you and you don't like you, you won't think that you're deserving. People love you because you deserve it. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be treated well. And it only makes sense. So this has been the Real Podcast of Dallas. And Cindy was with us, but she had to take a phone call. I hope that this episode helps you that are out there. I hope that you find comfort in it. I hope that I know that I tend to go many places because I get excited. I get excited about these topics. But as someone told me recently, love. You've got to look at love. And love is what helps you move forward. Learning to like people for where they're at. Learning to like yourself where you're at. Learning to love yourself a little more every day will get you to a point where it'll outshine the negativity, the self-destructive part. And if we all learn how to do that a little bit more and more every day, we'd be better people. We'd accept people for who they are and where they're at. We'd accept people for their mistakes that they make, and we'd be more forgiving. And then we would be able to discern that is this a dangerous situation? Is this a dangerous habit that I've developed? Am I hurting myself more? Do I need more discipline? Should I go to bed earlier? Should I eat 3 meals a day? Those of you that are struggling, start off with 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Get some sleep. You've got to sleep. Your body has to rest. A rested body and a rested mind and a fed body will give you what you need to give you that foundation so that your emotions are a little bit more in check. Learn what your feelings are. Listen to the podcast on feelings with the Real Podcast of Dallas. With that, I'm going to leave you with this song that came out in the 80s, and I think it's very timely. And I'm going to dedicate this to all the people who are going through this. Maria, I hope that this podcast finds you, and we will be recording soon. And again, this has been the Real Podcast of Dallas. The Real Podcast of Dallas. The only podcast dedicated to you, and you. The podcast that is a drug-free podcast. A positive podcast. Thank you so much, and you'll hear us again. Thank you.
It really ain't the rap audience that's bugging. It's one or two suckers, ignorant brothers, trying to rob and steal from one another. You get caught in the mid. So to crush that stereotype, here's what we did. We got ourselves together so that you could unite and fight for what's right. Not negative cause. The way we live is positive. We don't kill our relatives.
Pop, 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 when it's shot, who's to blame? Headline, front page, and rap's the name. MC Delight here to state the bottom line. The black on black crime was way before our time.
Took a brother's life with a knife as his wife cried, cause he died of trifling death when he left his very last breath. Was I slept, so watch your step. Back in the 60s, our brothers and sisters were hanged. How could you gangbang? I never ever ran from the Ku Klux Klan, and I shouldn't have to run from a black man, cause that's self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction. Self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction. Self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction. Self-destruction.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Funky fresh dressed to impress, ready to party. Money in your pocket, dying to move your body. To get inside, you pay the whole $10. Scotch tape with a razor blade, taped to your collar. Leave the guns in the crack and the knobs alone. MC lights on the microphone, bum rushing and pushing, snatching and taxing. I crammed understand why brothers don't be maxing. There's only one disco, they'll close one more. You ain't guarding the door, so what you got a gun for? Do you rob the rich and give to the poor? Yo, daddy-o, school them some more.
Straight from the mouth.
Why?
And daddy-o,
Do a crime.
end up in jail and gotta go.
Cause you could do crime and get paid today.
And tomorrow you're behind bars in the worst way.
Far from your family.
Cause you're locked away.
Now tell
Do
me,
you really think crime pays?
scheming on taking what your brother had?
You little sucker.
You talking all that jazz.
It's time to stand together in a unity. Cause if not, then we're soon to be self-destroyed, unemployed. The rap race will be lost without a trace or a clue. But what to do is stop the violence and kick the science down the road that we call eternity, where knowledge is formed and you learn to be self-sufficient, independent. To teach to each is what rap intended, but society wants to invade. So do not walk this path that they laid. It's self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction. Self-destruction. D-Nice, break it down like this.
Children growing, women producing, men go working, some do stealing.
Self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction. Self-destruction.
I'm Miss Melody and I'm a born again rebel. The bounce and rap must cease and settle. If we want to develop and grow to another level, we can't be guinea pigs for the devil. The enemy knows they're no fools because everyone knows the hip hop rules. So we gotta get a grip and grab what's wrong. The opposition is weak and rap is strong.
This is all about, no doubt, to stop violence. But first, let's have a moment of silence. Swing. Things been stated, re-educated, evaluated. Thoughts of the past have faded. The only thing left is the memories of our belated. And I hate it when someone dies to get all hurt up for a silly gold chain by a chump.
Word up.
It doesn't make you a big man, and to one ain't going this your brother man, and you don't know that's part of the plan. Why? 'Cause rap